So I think that a lot of people already stole a significant amount of the JCI thunder, which is great, because even though I don't look it, I'm one of the younger-ish JCI members.
Grandpa.
For Mike's generation. So as you saw from that poorly planned skit, the Sam Steele Ball Tournament was one of the marquee events of JCI Kootenay for many years, especially during Mike's time with JCI. What started as a modest fundraiser turned into a flagship event for our organization and for JCI across Canada, and won many awards and became the largest ball tournament in the Kootenays. For many JCI members, working at the ball tournament turned into a rite of passage of sorts. When trying to compete with the work effort of a few brave and slightly insane members like Mike and a few of the people that preceded me up here at the podium. It was actually common for Mike and a few others to put in back-to-back 18 to 20 hour shifts at this event. But as Mike will say himself, it didn't feel like work. When you're volunteering for JCI or similar organizations, you're spending a lot of great time with your friends, and even when you're putting in the 30 or 40 hours over a single weekend or hundreds of hours leading up to it, when you're doing it with people that you love and you're doing it for a community that you care about, it doesn't seem like work, it seems like a lot of fun. The same unrelenting passion that Mike tackled with the ball tournament came into a lot of other aspects of JCI. And I'll stream through some of the details that have been covered before, but this is another one of the great events that Mike brought to our community. In 2012, Mike decided to chair the bid process to host the national convention. And Mike had a vision. He wanted to make it big. And as a new member that had just joined the organization leading up to this bid process, I looked up to Mike. And that is not a tall joke, because I did look up to Mike, and I still look up to Mike. As especially at that time as a younger member who sat down and who liked to watch this guy who stood up and could speak with ease in front of everybody and with confidence. He was truly somebody that I did look up to. So I looked up to the guy so much at that point in time that I wanted to be on his committee for this great event. And so I put together a very detailed resume of how I felt I was qualified to be the training director for this nonprofit event. And I found out a couple months later, he said, "Yeah, Mike, you made the cut. We accepted you." And then we had our first meeting, and I realized nobody else had wrote a resume. You don't write resumes to volunteer for nonprofit committees where you don't get paid and you spend a bunch of time doing stuff and everybody else gets to have fun. But I figured it was still worth it. I had made the cut one way or the other, and I bragged about it a little bit. So showing his true brilliance, Mike, we went on a little bit of a campaign to make sure that we were going to get a lot of people to come to the Kootenays. So the first thing that he did, and like I said, he's a brilliant guy. He got his van, he loaded it up with a keg of beer from the Creston Brewery and a bunch of Lederhosen-filled people. And we went up to Edmonton, and this is what we did in front of the General Assembly of JCI Canada, and presented our bid. And we said, we've got a keg of beer somewhere on the premise. We're wearing these awesome outfits. Do you want to come to the Kootenays in a couple of years? And yeah, guaranteed that's a slam dunk. So we took the Lederhosen and beer tour across Canada the next year. We went to Toronto. We couldn't find an airplane that would take the keg across Canada in the plane. So we had to go down the street and get a bunch of beer, but that was fine. But to this day, that was probably the best national convention that I've ever been to, and for most people that were there, it's probably the best national convention that anybody in JCI has been to, and it was amazing, and it's something we're all still trying to live up to. And as you heard, and I'll brief through this a little bit, but as part of Mike's great desire to make sure that kids of these people that were inebriated or just playing softball or just enjoying their time up there during all the other festivities that happen around the year, Mike wanted to build this JCI playground up at Moir Park. And with his huge drive and his connections in the community and his inspiration of his fellow JCI members, it didn't take long to have more than enough money in the bank and more than enough community sponsorship and child labor. That was not supposed, no, that, to make this happen. And in the summer of 2012, the playground was built. And as you've heard, Mike's accomplishments in JCI have been many. Chapter president, effective speaking champion nationally, two-time JCI Kootenay Member of the Year, 2011 JCI Canada Member of the Year, and in 2012 he was awarded a lifetime membership in JCI with the highest honor of a JCI Senator. And I'll try to summarize this speech with a few of the words from my nomination letter. I would not be the person I am today without the mentorship and leadership of Mike Adams. JCI Kootenay would not be the impactful organization for young leaders in our community without the presence and dedication of Mike Adams. And the city of Cranbrook and our greater community would not be such an amazing place to live in, work in, and play in without the contribution and sacrifices of this fine young man. So I'd like to thank Mike, and it's been a great time knowing you.